Hello and welcome to this session, and in this session we will have to understand the next important part of speech, which is the pronoun. Well, amongst the 8 different parts of speech, this happens to be the second most important part of speech, and in this session we will have to master this part of speech. So let me proceed. Even before I dive deep and tell you as to what really pronouns are, have a look at this sentence. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Well, I hope you recollect that this happens to be one of the famous lines of the popular poems that we would have memorized during our childhood, and obviously the next line in this poem shall be as to Jack and Jill fetched a pail of water. If you would look at the first sentence, then I'm sure you are able to identify Jack and Jill to be the nouns present in the sentence. But then in the second sentence as well, we are again repeating the same nouns Jack and Jill, and this definitely is adding repetitiveness to the sentence, due to which the sentence is becoming less readable and more cumbersome. What I mean to say is that in case I happen to take the same sentence this way, and in the second sentence, just in case I'm going to remove the nouns Jack and Jill, and instead in case I'm going to replace it with the equivalent word they, then the sentence that Jack and Jill went up the hill, they fetched a pail of water, definitely is a sentence in which there is no repetition, which is more readable and less cumbersome. Well, that way, what I wanted you to understand is that this word they that we have introduced over here happens to be a pronoun. And I'm sure you are able to understand that one of the roles played by pronouns is that it avoids repetition. Well, I shall speak about the pronouns in great detail, but then now have a look at this sentence. Kiran and Arun said Kiran and Arun would help. Well, again, in this sentence, Kiran and Arun happen to be the nouns that are present in the sentence, but then this sentence appears to be cumbersome because the same nouns have been again repeated in the sentence, and due to this repetitiveness, it is a less readable sentence and it happens to be more cumbersome. So, what do I really do to avoid this? Well, all that I have to do is to take the same sentence and replace the second occurrence of the nouns Kiran and Arun with an equivalent word they. And now the sentence that Kiran and Arun said they would help definitely is a more readable sentence and is a simplified sentence. So here the word they that has been introduced happens to be the pronoun, and I'm sure you are able to understand that we are using pronoun at the place of nouns. And what is the utility of using this? Well, no doubt pronouns are actually avoiding repetition, but in this case it is also enabling the simplification of sentences so that it is more readable and impactful. So through this discussion, what you have been able to understand is that pronoun happens to be such a part of speech in English that contains words that are used to replace the nouns that are present in the sentence. Well, that way, if you'll have to understand this definition again, have a look at the first example. Don't you see that in the first example, the nouns Jack and Jill have been replaced with the pronoun they, and through this you have indeed been able to avoid repetition. So that way, pronouns happen to be such words that replace nouns in a sentence. Not just that, have a look at the next example. Well, in this case, Arun and Kiran have been again replaced with the pronoun they, which is not only helping in avoiding repetition but is also enabling the simplification of sentences. So all said and done, I am sure now you can understand the definition of pronouns, that pronouns happen to be such words that replace the nouns present in a sentence. But then the larger role played by pronouns in English sentences are these. Well, you have already understood that pronouns definitely avoid repetition. They also enable simplifying sentences, but then they also enhance the clarity of the sentence and also help us in creating the required emphasis. Anyway, what do these 2 points mean? Let me proceed and explain it to you with examples. Have a look at this sentence. Anna looked at Anna's watch and realized Anna was late. Well, I'm sure that this sentence is definitely pretty ambiguous to read and understand, and that is primarily because in this sentence, Anna happens to be the noun and it has been repeated thrice. Well, it is due to this repetition that after all this sentence is ambiguous to read and understand, and if I'll really have to simplify this, then all that I have to do is to replace the second Anna with her and the third Anna with the word she. And now the sentence that Anna looked at her watch and realized she was late definitely gives you more clarity and reduces ambiguity. And again, let me tell you that here the replacement of the second occurrence of the noun Anna with her and the third occurrence of the noun Anna with she has actually brought in more clarity and has reduced ambiguity, and that is the reason that I say that the words her and she in English vocabulary falls under the category of pronouns. So I'm sure that through this example you have indeed been able to understand that pronouns help in enhancing the clarity of the sentence. Have a look at this sentence. Ram completed the project. Well, I'm sure that in this sentence you realize that Ram happens to be the noun of the sentence. Well, not just is it the noun of the sentence, it also happens to be the subject of the sentence, because after all this sentence is speaking about the person Ram who is involved in the completion of the project. Well, if in case your question is what is the pronoun that is present in the sentence, then let me tell you that as of now there is no pronoun present in the sentence. But then just in case I introduce this word himself into the sentence, then the sentence that Ram himself completed the project is actually speaking about the immense effort that Ram has put in to complete the project. In fact, this word himself highlights the role of the subject in the action of completing the project, and let me tell you that without this word himself, then we don't get an emphasis as to what really is the role played by Ram in the completion of the project. But then with the introduction of the word himself, that we get to know that it is Ram who has put in an immense effort to complete the project. In other words, the word himself here is creating that emphasis, and let me tell you that even such words in English are categorized as pronouns, and through this example I'm sure that you have been able to understand that pronouns indeed help in creating the required emphasis if in case the sentence actually requires it. So all said and done, I'm sure that you have been able to understand that pronouns happen to be such words in English that are used to replace nouns, and that all of these happen to be the various utilities that are associated with the pronouns. All said and done, in this session, which happens to be an introductory session on the concept of pronouns, I'm sure you have been able to understand the concept of pronouns at a superficial level. But then in case you really have to master this part of speech, then you need to understand about all of these different types of pronouns. In my upcoming sessions, I shall be discussing in detail about each of these types, and let me tell you that by the time you understand all of these different types of pronouns, that you would have mastered this part of speech. So if you really want to master pronouns and through that master the usage of English language to create meaningful and impactful sentences, then all that you need to do is to continue watching this video series. Hope this session was informative. Thanks for watching. Let's meet again in my next session.